Alright, hello. My name is Scott Scoot Belmont. I am one of the coaches or analysts applying for Team Vitality. Thank you for watching Yamato Cannon. And I would like to explain why I'm doing a video format instead of a more written format for my analytical, my VOD review, basically. And it's because I think with a video, instead of, written, I think it's easier to follow as you can watch the game instead of saying there are timestamps on a piece of paper that you would have to go back and see what happens and then see what I'm trying to explain. In this kind of format, you can see what's going on while I'm talking through it and saying, like, this is why that just happened, and I can go back and show you why everything is happening, and it's much easier to do instead of typing it all out and then having to go to back to the actual video to see, oh yes, that did happen, that could have been done better. I just think it's a lot easier to see what's happening, a lot easier to recognize what I am saying alongside what is happening. And overall, it might be longer because it is a long video. This is a 40-minute game-ish, but it is a lot easier to understand and comprehend. So as we go into picks and bans, we will be talking about the picks and bans, and then going into the rest of the game, we will be taking it, minute by minute, second by second, explaining everything everyone is doing. And well, let's start off by saying Ivern is probably a top ban on patch 7.8. He is perfectly good in protect comps, which TSM was practicing. So it's a very smart ban from Gigabyte Marines. TSM bans away the Ziggs. It's not been played very often in the bot lane, which makes it a more confusing ban. Gigabyte Marines did play it maybe once or twice in the play-in stage, but overall, it's a more questionable ban. Now, Galio and Kennen, those are two top-tier, top laner picks, so those are more understandable bans. Galio is the new champion on the patch. We've seen him being played to great success in China before this tournament was played. And even later in this tournament, we see the ultimate power that Galio can bring to a fight, so that's a good ban. Kennen is the on-hit demon, and GAM would be able to pick that up first pick without many counters, really, except for possibly a Jace, but he hasn't been nearly as strong since the lethality nerfs, so it's smarter to ban that out. Then GAM goes with the Ashe ban, which means they might want to pick up Varus for themselves because they have the first pick. And Ashe is one of the higher DPS carries right now. She has great utility. She has that ultimate that can stun. She has all that slows and a lot amount of damage. So she has a lot of safety as well as a lot of damage, which is dangerous, and that's exactly the reason why TSM also banned out Syndra. A lot of safety, a lot of damage, and overall one of the best mid laners right now, and it would just be simpler to ban it out and try to play around it. Now GAM, they first off pick Gragas, who is one of the top laner picks right now, right up next to Rumble and Nautilus as AP carries slash tanks in the top lane. TSM, they counter with Lulu and Graves. Graves is one of the top junglers right now. Lulu, one of the best supports. So we already see TSM is kind of winning out on these trades because you could always pick a Rumble into a Gragas and kind of win that lane. Whereas if you try to pick even more utility against the Lulu, then you might get poked out, or, Lulu brings slightly more utility than the Karma, which just got locked in. Because of the nature of her ultimate, her whimsy, her ability to polymorph enemies, while Karma, she can do everything Lulu can, but less. Because she has the shield, she has a slow on her Q. She has a root that is difficult to land, while Lulu just has the point and click polymorph. And this is where GAM goes Karma Varus. Varus is one of the strongest ADCs on the patch right now. For all the same reasons Ashe is. He has a lot of long range high damage and safety in his ultimate. Very good utility ultimate to pick off one person or to stop the charge from the enemy bruisers or Gragas. And overall, a lot of safety, a lot of damage, a very good pick. TSM, they elect to go Nautilus into the Gragas pick, which is a good pick. It's not going to lose the lane because they're both hyper tanks, but it is questionable because things like Rumble are still available. It does secure a lot of CC, which is something TSM struggled to pick in a bunch of their games, most notably in the tiebreaker game or against G2 before they were kicked out of the tournament. They elected not to pick a lot of CC and they got run over for it. And overall, I think Nautilus is an okay pick here because you could still flex Lulu mid, which is very unlikely, but has happened, and then put Nautilus in support and keep Rumble in the top lane. That way your carries can get buffed by that mid Lulu. Whoever Wild Turtle will pick, whoever, well, Svenskeren is playing Graves, so Graves getting buffed by Lulu is a lot of damage coming out. Now, Gigabyte Marines is going to ban Caitlyn. That's another super high damage ADC that they won't want Wild Turtle to have, because we've seen Wild Turtle's Caitlyn. It's been very effective. And TSM, they elected to ban out the Lee Sin because although Gragas can be flexed into the jungle area, Lee Sin is one of the other top tier junglers right now whose mobility is, it just completely outclasses everyone else on the table right now. And then they also ban out LeBlanc, which is again another super safe, super high damage mid carry that, you know, they just simply don't want to play into. Then Gigabyte Marines bans out another ADC in Ezreal, so they really pinched TSM's ADC pool. Unfortunately, Twitch was a bit of an oversight. He is arguably weaker than all the other ADCs that have been shown so far. So TSM has to play really smartly if they want to play this protect the Twitch comp, and they're going to have to pick something that can assist in that mid lane, something like an Orianna perhaps, which might be taken away by the Gigabyte Marines here. So I would have argued that TSM take Orianna instead of the Twitch there, and then just pick Twitch last, because that's kind of one of their only options left. Gigabyte Marines, they're gonna elect to pick the Kha'Zix, which is not as strong as Graves or Lee Sin because of the changes that has happened since, you know, patch 7.4, 7.5, where he was at his strongest. And overall, it's a good pick. It's not the most optimal pick because the other picks were either taken away or banned out, but it will work for what Gigabyte's Marine has, because then they pick Ahri in that mid lane, so they have a good amount of poke, they have a good amount of, you know, shields from the Karma, they have a good amount of CC and disruption from the Gragas, so that they can afford to have a more carry-oriented jungler. Instead of picking Elise, who would help with their pick comp, with the Ahri Charm and the Gragas Disruption and the Varus Ultimate, they elected to go for more damage, more carry-oriented, to try to compete with this Graves, possibly trying to counter gank or fight Graves in his own jungle. And this is where TSM picks, like I said earlier, they could flex Lulu mid, they could pick a different support. Bard, I don't think would work here, but yes, they do flex the Lulu into the mid lane, which, once everything is lined up, I'll explain what these comps' pros and cons are, and explain how each team will want to play into each other. So, TSM, I mean, both of these teams have hyper tanks, they have carries in the jungle, and then they have Ahri, who is more of a assassin-based mage, versus Lulu, who is more utility-based. And then they have long-range poke ADC in Varus versus the Twitch ultimate team fighting machine because of his ultimate and because of the nature of him with Hurricane. It's super powerful combo that will shred through any team. And then they have utility-based mages as their supports in the bot lane. So what GAM is going to want to do here is they want to be able to pick out where the Twitch is in a fight, and then use all of their mobility from Karma's Mantra Shield, Ari's ultimate, Kha'Zix's jump, the belly slam from Gragas, and just get through this front line to get to that back line, and then just try to completely wipe them off the face of the earth. What TSM is going to want to do in response to that is obviously peel him like an orange and use all that Nautilus disruption, use Lulu disruption, use the Nami wave to try to get everyone off of this Twitch. TSM, I think they do have a good comp. It could have been better because I feel like Orianna would have been a more safe pick because it outputs more consistent damage. With Lulu, she has a very thin skill shot that is easy to miss. She has a point and click shield, which she can put on other people, or she can, put on the enemy and then hit a more closer range Q, but even then it's still easy to dodge, knowing where the pix is lined up and knowing where she might aim. It's again, a lot of damage that you might miss out on, as opposed to an Orianna QW combo where you put the ball on top of the enemy and then slam them with the dissonance. So it's questionable, but I can see why they wanted it for the bot lane as well, because they want to buff up this Twitch as much as they can while keeping him safe with this double support kind of lane. If TSM did have Ivern, which was banned away, you can bet they would have picked Ivern instead and probably gone with something similar too, and just put all of their eggs in the basket of Wild Turtle's Twitch, which is risky because, as we've seen in the past, Wild Turtle has been questionable on picks that aren't Caitlyn and Ezreal, and to a lesser extent Ashe. His Twitch was not very strong in this tournament, and we'll see later in the game why TSM's comp, their peel and protect the Twitch comp, is going to fall apart. And we will just skip to the game time. Which I hope they didn't have any delays, so we could just skip right into the game. I'm going to skip a little further into it so we can, just get past that 45 seconds. Both teams, they want to open up safely. They don't go for any cheesy brush strats in the bot lane. They don't go for any warding invades, which have become a lot less common this season anyway. So the 5-point strategy, they're just trying to get a feel for each other. They're not like G2 where they want to invade and try to kill Faker at level 1. So both sides, they're playing it safely, and it's the smart move to do. We have Graves and Nautilus starting on that red side, as well as Levi starting the Raptors. This is the most optimal start for all junglers right now, because with even just the small Raptors, you can hit level 2, and then you can just move straight onto your buffs and, go anywhere else on the map for an easy level 3. Now, this is where TSM's bot lane starts to fail, because they cannot push out against this Karma Varus. They have a lot more pushing power, whereas Nami Twitch, they do have better sustain, so they will be able to stay in lane longer, but they're going to be missing a lot of farm to that tower. They're going to be missing a lot of damage because they're going to be at the mercy of that Karma Q, whereas yes, Nami can heal it all back up, but it is going to be pretty annoying to be zoned off of all these minions, and they have to at least dodge the Karma Q. But what's going to be more difficult is trying to heal over that Grievous Wounds patch from Varus, which is not something many people consider when they pick Varus. They normally just pick him for his long-range poke and his utility ultimate. But in lane, especially against a Nami or a Sona, that little patch of Grievous Wounds can cut down on the healing by a lot. So if that Varus plays it very smartly, he will be able to keep Biofrost and Wild Turtle at an unhealthy HP value. Now right here, it's more or less just trading back and forth. Nautilus did get a ward where Kha'Zix was, so they do know he's on the top side. They might not know where he is now, but Ari did ward deeper into Svetskare's jungle. Unfortunately, that plant is going to spot him out, so now they know where Svenskeren is. This means bot lane can play more aggressively, while Levi can look for something in this mid lane here, because they know Graves is super far away and won't be able to do anything with this. They do go for the gank on Bjergsen. Nothing really comes of it except for a little bit of damage, which is a very good pressure gank, because now Levi can continue to get vision in the jungle by securing these scuttle crabs. You're going to gank Stark in the top lane, and this is very smart from Svenskeren because he tries to get in front of Stark to prevent him from using his dash away. But now Haunter... Okay, we'll play through that again. Svenskeren, what he tries to do is he tries to dash in this direction so he can get in front of Stark. And then when he sees Stark dash away, he tries to get in front of him to prevent him from moving any further away. Unfortunately, that doesn't really work out because he didn't flash directly into Stark's line as he was dashing, and because, well, Stark is able to get his full dash off before knocking up Svenskeren, which is just a waste of a flash at that point. And then at this point, Haunter, he flashes, then waits a full like half a second before he finally decides to use his Q. We can't see if it's on cooldown because it wasn't hovering over him. But he goes for the Q, grabs the wall instead, misses, and then that one slow from Stark's Gragas is enough to secure the first blood. This was a very horribly misplayed first gank, and I think it was a disrespectful idea to hold on to that flash hook for so long from Nautilus, especially when he had dashed away in a straight line. Now, we have a fight in the bot lane where Kha'Zix wanted to gank, but oh, it's a 4-man gank. Alright, we'll go through this in 1 second, but we'll try to play this out and see how it goes. There's a 5-man gank. Biofrost is definitely going to die here, and we can see how this breaks down in just a second. What happens is the bot lane from GAM goes aggressive. It's a combination of Wild Turtle positioning poorly to try to get a little bit of damage off onto Slay, and Kha'Zix already being there for the gank, as well as Gragas having his teleport, because they don't account for the fact that Gragas does indeed have teleport. So Wild Turtle is in an aggressive position. Nami is a little too far back to do anything but heal him and buff him, so the bubble is not available at this moment. She does eventually move up, but this allows Archie to put down a little bit of damage onto her, as well as Wild Turtle taking a lot of damage because he has 2 blight stacks and then takes that Q to the face. So Slay, he is a little bit higher health than Wild Turtle, about 100 more HP, but now Archie, it's Archie's turn to deal some damage, and Archie, he does have his mantra up, so he can go for the mantra Q on Wild Turtle right now. He has the ignite, and that could secure a kill, but the heal comes out before the ignite goes down, so he gets the full value of the heal, and then the Biofrost decides to exhaust Archie, so they think now we might be able to turn this around. Unfortunately, Kha'Zix is already there, jumping into the lane, and Gragas already started his teleport. Haunter, if he had just waited a half a second more, could have seen that this bot lane was in danger and teleported down there, but he already began his teleport into the top lane. So Haunter, not going to be a factor here. Svenskeren, he's back in base. Lulu does not follow the Ahri roam, also because Lulu is only level 4, so this is going to be a lost fight from TSM no matter what happens. Wild Turtle does get his stealth, so he is able to walk out safely, but this leaves Biofrost all alone, and this is the result of TSM just not being prepared for it. The TSM bot lane thought, oh, Kha'Zix might not be here, let's play aggressively. They do. Turns out Kha'Zix was there, and it turns out Haunter was not coming to save them because he had already began his teleport in the top lane. It was a misplay from Haunter for starting his teleport too early, and it was a misplay from Wild Turtle and Biofrost for even going aggressive in the first place as a losing bot lane. Now we have the replay from before, which we already went over. And then the replay from here, which again we already went over, so I'm just going to skip over these and skip a little bit ahead into the game. So right now, Gigabyte Marines, they have a 500 gold lead. Farm is still about the same in every single lane.
And what TSM needs to do to try to get back into this is basically play smarter, gank smarter, and they're not using this Graves effectively. He is very effective at these top lane ganks because it's such a long lane, but he already failed one time and he doesn't have a red buff for those slows, so he probably doesn't have the confidence to try again. Bot lane has been pushed into their own tower for a majority of this laning phase, and so again, that would be a very easy gank, but he doesn't have a red buff, so he can't provide slows, and Wild Turtle, he does have his own slow. Biofrost can provide a slow on hit with those auto attacks into a bubble, but this gankable lane is already going to go down. Graves shows up a little too late. Lulu doesn't get there in time, and overall, it's just a very misplayed jungle by Svenskeren. He tried to play to the top side and couldn't get that advantage. He did not try to play towards that bot side and did not even try to get that advantage. So that was a lost lane from the start that didn't have any help, that got focused by the enemy and just turned into an even bigger liability for TSM. They can still come back if they try to play this safely. If Hauntzer plays this exactly like he does, he goes aggressive onto Stark, he gets a lot of damage down, and TSM shows that they are still more mechanically better, they can still win these lanes. And at this point, it looks like they're just completely surrendering the bot side jungle, which is bad, because that means they're surrendering that dragon as well. TSM thinks they might be able to go for the dive here. This time, they do successfully get the kill, but Svenskeren was too low health to even begin that. He started tanking the turret. Hauntzer was also too low health to tank the turret anyway. So what they should have done was try to wait for the minion wave, or or try to poke him down with Graves' abilities. It was super risky to go for it. Look at Svenskeren. He came in with full health and then took 4 tower shots. That is not something you want to do as a squishy jungler. I said he came in with too low health, and it turns out max health is too low health to dive a Gragas. So, again, that's a misplay from Svenskeren. He decided, let's go for this dive, I'll tank, and then he underestimated the Gragas damage. He underestimated their own damage and how fast they would kill the Gragas, gave up another kill, and this Gragas now has 2 kills and an assist. He's getting fed, and that is going to snowball into an unkillable hyper tank, which is very bad for TSM. Now they've gone for the lane swap because TSM has already lost their bot lane. Fortunately for them, GAM did not go for this dragon, so that is still on the table for TSM. Bjergsen gonna get ulted on by Ahri. Stark smartly holds on to his body slam to avoid the bubble, so this is going to be an advantageous push for GAM, who Nautilus is not trying to counter the push in top lane. Instead, he is trying to kill this Ahri, who he gets the flash, so it's an okay cooldown. Gragas actually was going to teleport top right there, and then canceled it to try to protect his bot lane even more. Stark, unfortunately, has to burn his own flash, so that's 2 flashes down for GAM, but that is going to be 2 turrets down for TSM. This is an awful trade for TSM. And even if they are able to save the turret, they can't take the dragon because Ahri is still in the area. Stark is still at full health. They still haven't even secured this dragon, and they know they can't go for another dive on this guy because it's just going to end in misery. Now Svenskeren has to burn his flash. Again, another misplay from Svenskeren. He's going way too aggressively. He does not have the advantage he thinks he has over this Gragas. He cannot actually gank him. Now, at this point, this is where I would say, alright, we're going to lose top turret. Let's get this Mountain Drake off of it. Because now Ahri is in the top side of the jungle. Lulu is there for assistance if need be. And they did have 3 members of TSM around that dragon. But they didn't go for it for... honestly, I don't know what reason, because in the base, it's much easier to defend that turret 1v3 as a Nautilus who maxes his E, so he can clear out those waves. And now TSM are going for the Dragon Vision now, but at this point, I mean, they could have already had it. Now it is much riskier because the bot lane from GAM is moving towards the mid lane. They're going to be in the area now. And it looks like Wild Turtle is going to try to go aggressive onto Stark. Stark has 3 levels up on Wild Turtle. Is not going to be able to get that 1v3 kill, but almost does, which, you know, that shows the power of this Gragas and how badly they've already begun the snowball for him. But now it feels like TSM thinks they're safe enough to go for this dragon, which in reality they're still not. Kha'Zix is in the area, Karma is in the area, they know that they're in the area. They're gonna pull off this dragon, which is the smart move. They shouldn't have started it in the first place. They should have started it like 3 minutes ago when they could have taken it, but they didn't, for I honestly don't know what reason. Whoever is shot calling needs to understand that these neutral objectives are still up on the field and that they need to be taken. You traded 2 turrets in the top lane for 1 tower and bot. The least you could have done was immediately go for the dragon afterwards, but they didn't. Honestly, there is no reason to not go for that dragon. It is sitting right there. You know 3 members of the enemy team is in that top lane. There's no reason to not go for it. Alright, and then we will break down this fight in just a second. As soon as the fight is over, we can break this down. And it looks like it's going to extend even further. Okay, so what goes on here is TSM, again, goes too aggressive when they don't have the power to. Just like we've seen in top lane twice already, and just like we've seen in the bottom lane just 2 minutes earlier. Bjergsen tries to go for that ward, and it leads to a lot of poke damage being put down. Svenskeren thinks, hey, we have Lulu here. Lulu still has ultimate. I can go in. But Svenskeren, you only have a kill and an assist. You don't even have actually, he does have a full item. He has a full item, but he is 1v3 right now. That is not... I would not advise that in any situation ever, to go in like this. He dashes from over here to right here in front of these 3 people. He has the Karma root on him, and Slay just used the active from Blade of the Ruined King, so that's a little bit more damage going to be put down. Svenskeren is being auto-attacked by Slay right now as he goes in for Levi, who is just going to stealth and then run away. Svenskeren uses up all of his mana to try to get away. Slay is still relatively healthy as Svenskeren. He has more mana, so he's going to be able to put down more poke in the meantime. But here comes Ahri at the same exact time. She's going to get a lot of AoE damage out from her Proto Belt, and then she has the pick of the litter. She can charm whoever she wants right in here, and they are like 99% going to die. So she throws in her Q first. It hits Biofrost, which this Q forces Sven and Wild Turtle to move forward to avoid it, because if they moved back, they would have just walked into the Q. But that also lets Slay land a Q of his own right into the face of Svenskeren through Biofrost, and it might hit Bjergsen. It does hit Bjergsen. Svenskeren still, I mean, he's going to die. Wild Turtle activates his ultimate, and you think he gets it across 3 people, he's going to at least kill one of them. Unfortunately, Biofrost does not have his exhaust up. He does not have Tidal Wave up. He flashes away from the rest of these guys, so now Wild Turtle is alone in this fight. You can just completely discount Svenskeren. He's not going to live. The Wild Turtle coming across. Slay has to use his heal. Now he is infinitely more beefed up than Wild Turtle, because if you consider who he is surrounded by, he has Archie for the shields and who can put down some damage. Haunter does come over, and I think Optimus still has his charm. No, he does not. Optimus is just going to dash forward to try to get more damage onto Wild Turtle. Answer, point and click, knock up onto Slay, which is going to get that knock up. Bjergsen misses the Q onto Optimus as well, so he's not going to get that damage, he's not going to get that slow. That is a free kill onto, well, not a free kill onto Wild Turtle, but right now it is a 2-for-1 because Slay is going to die to this Nautilus knockup. And now Gragas is coming in right behind them. At this point, TSM has to say, okay, this fight is lost, just hide under the turret. But instead, he tries to move forward to go for Optimus, who still had the dash. So he moves forward. That puts him in a disadvantageous position because now he has to walk backwards over here, giving Stark time to move up. And then, well, instead of moving up, he just moves back, tries to push that minion wave. And then this is where Hauntzer's positioning gets really dumb. He does have the shield from Lulu, so he thinks he has some safety, but they don't have the ultimate from Lulu, so he really doesn't have safety. That exhaust is almost up from Biofrost, but it is too little too late at this point. Hauntzer gets ulted backwards by Stark, and that just means there's going to be a lot of damage. His hook goes down for nothing. He gets hit by the charm, and then he just gets completely bursted out. There was a good bubble landed by Biofrost, but now, instead of being able to defend this turret 3v4, they can't defend this turret because Lulu is out of mana. She can't get close enough because she doesn't have a Nautilus to hide behind. It was a very sloppy play. It was a way too aggressive play from Svenskeren. That was bad positioning from Haunzer, and GAM is just playing these fights. They're not even playing the fights optimally, but TSM is just playing so poorly that GAM is winning these fights. So I'm going to show the replay one more time. And you can see Svenskeren thinks, you know, we're going to have the helicopters coming in. We might be able to do this because it's hey, Lulu and Graves versus 3 people. I don't know why he thinks he can go in and do this, but he decides to dash forward anyway, which is completely ill-advised and just absolutely an awful idea. Because now he has to ult away, he has to try to run away, move forward from that REQ, but that puts him in the rest of the enemy team, and he just straight dies. Haunzer moves back while the rest of GAM just kite away from that Nautilus ultimate, and they kite away from the, well, I mean, they don't really kite away from the Twitch, they went in and killed him. And now this dragon that has been standing for the 5 minutes that it shouldn't have been is finally going to go down in GAM's favor instead of TSM's favor when they could have taken it at the 9-minute mark when they were losing their top towers. So that is damage to objectives that they're going to lose out on. That it could have helped them in taking that tower just now. Could help them in taking all objectives later in the game. It is an unwise move to let that such an important stat go to the enemy team that it is just a very, whoever is making these calls for TSM needs to rethink their calls. They need to be retaught what is important on the map at what time in what situation. Alright, now we're going to skip ahead a little bit. At this point in the game, TSM, what they have to do to stay in this is to just try their best to have a fight in the open, try to peel for Wild Turtle. It has to be somewhere like wide open so nobody's stuck in any tight corridors getting the full brunt of Ahri damage or the full brunt of Varus damage. And they just need to peel backwards from this Gragas, and they need to be able to survive basically as best as they can. They can do that with Nami, with Lulu, with Nautilus, but they also need to stop playing super aggressively. Like right now they're playing this conservatively and it's fine. Nautilus misses the hook, they're defending this turret, and they're going to be having a successful defense until Nautilus misses the next hook. Biofrost does have exhaust, he has all of his abilities. Every single ultimate is up from both teams. Haunzer misses his hook again, and that's just a misplay from Haunzer. He uses his ultimate way too early in the fight, he uses it onto the wrong target, and now Nautilus is going to be practically useless come the next fight. At the same token, Slay's ultimate is also down, but that was because they thought they would be able to chunk out Haunter, who, can still get in the way. He is at full health, but finally does land a good hook, but off of that hook, TSM thinks now we can finally go in, which they completely underestimated the Ari damage, and they did not respect Ari's possible damage outburst. But we can go over this again in just a second. This is less of a misplay from GAM and more of a decent play from TSM. As soon as they show the replay, we can go over it. See what happens is Haunter lands the hook, but then Optimus just comes right over the wall, deletes Biofrost, and then runs away giggling. So he lands the hook onto a high priority target who gets a gigantic shield from Karma. Biofrost tries to follow it up with the wave into more CC to help out Haunter, but they don't have any damage right now, so that hook was ill-advised to go for from the beginning. Twitch is around the corner over here, and Graves is still back up at the base over there, so going in for this fight, it is currently a 3v5. And then it's going to be put into a 3v5 again because Biofrost is going to get deleted as Wild Turtle finally makes his way in. So they do land all of the CC down onto Slay. There's a massive team shield, so anything they do is going to get mitigated. And then Optimus dashes over the wall with the help of Stark, deletes Biofrost. Then Optimus, after tanking a few shots, is going to try to dash back in. They are able to kill Haunter, but now the damage is finally here, and they're lined up perfectly for Twitch to get maximum damage. They're lined up perfectly for Graves to get maximum damage, and it's at this point Optimus and Stark need to dash out from under the tower while Levi and Slay secure the kill on Haunter. Which Optimus, he spends way too much time in front of this tower, and he spent the whole time tanking it, so not getting out of turret range was a misplay right there because most of the damage he took was from that tower in the first place. Stark was polymorphed, and he doesn't have his dash, so he can't escape just yet. But now they separate themselves. Kha'Zix goes towards the top lane instead of trying to stay down here providing slows with his W and just being a general body in the way, while Slay, Stark, and Archie all run away. So I mean, that is a good idea to try to push that top lane, but in a 4v3 situation where the possibility to turn it is still live, I would much rather have Kha'Zix with me. Let me just try to see. Oh, he was at super low health. So everyone is just trying to run away from this fight at this point. So Kha'Zix runs away towards the top lane with super low health. Archie and Stark are trying to run away with super low health. And that was just GAM disrespected the burst damage coming out from TSM, so they just kind of overdove and misplayed a little bit. Unfortunately for them, that means they can't finish off that mid tower, but it gives them an opportunity to go back, reassess, hey, we overdove that, Ari was tanking the entire time, let's play this a little smarter. So it was a smart play for GAM to go in because they saw it was a 3v5, but then Graves appeared, then Twitch appeared, and it all just went downhill from there. Now, Gigabyte Marines are just showing off their complete dominance of the enemy jungle. They're just warding up entirely. They're trying to set up for this next dragon, which is spawning in a minute 30. That's another mountain drake, and if they get that, then they can definitely secure the Baron whenever they want, because that's going to be a lot more damage coming out onto that neutral objective, as well as the Kha'Zix damage, as well as Gragas just straight up being able to tank it. They have 2 teleports coming in right now, and they think they have the play onto Slay, but they do not. So Haunter does get the aggressive snare, and from there it's just kind of broken up from GAM. Optimus tries to go in, gets immediately exhausted, and that was a huge misplay from GAM. And as soon as the replay comes up, we can go over why it was a misplay again. But we can see that they overcommit to a fight that they shouldn't have invested in the first place. Alright, So it looks like, yes, here's the replay. What happens is Haunter starts his teleport a lot earlier, and he has a good flank on these guys, which means he's going to cause a lot of separation between Optimus and Slay and Archie and Gragas coming in, as well as Levi all the way up there. So Optimus thinks, let's run away towards Levi, whereas Slay and Archie think, let's run away towards Gragas, because nobody really wants to be left alone in a situation like this. That, and because, well, if you run away this way, Nautilus can catch you in the jungle over here. If you run away this way, it's a much more wide open area. It allows you more space to try to run away. So what happens is Haunter immediately just goes to knock up Slay. All of his damage is still back here. They're trying to avoid being killed by Optimus right now. So they're going to be a little late to this fight. But Haunter, he puts down the snare onto Archie, and really that's all he needs, because now Svenskeren dashes forward, Wild Turtle moves up forward to try to run away from Optimus's Ari, and this is just a giant hole of damage coming down right onto Archie, right onto Stark. Slay is already taken out of this fight. Levi is standing on a pink ward, so even if he stealths, they know he's going to be over there. Everybody watch out. Which, he is stealthed as he goes over that ward. He just shows up, but at that point Archie is already at half health. Svenskeren still has all that burst. Haunter still hasn't taken damage. Slay is going to get slowed again, so it's going to take even longer for him to get into this fight. And now all of this damage is coming down onto Stark and Levi. Wild Turtle does get snared up, but that's okay, because Biofrost has the exhaust for Optimus, which he was holding on to the entire time. So Optimus sees the bubble miss, dashes in, gets exhausted. Whereas down here, Wild Turtle, the snare ends, so he moves forward. And it's at this point Stark is, he's more than dead. Wild Turtle, I think he's already thinking about trying to kill Slay. But they turn it on to Gragas. They get the kill, they get his flash. And that is a one-team fight from TSM. That was a fantastic teleport flank into creating good separation. And GAM, what they should have done was they all needed to run away in the same direction so that they could all use their full kits to try to peel away and to just, if you have to use Gragas ultimate in one direction, knock them all back in one direction, then that'll be a lot more effective than Nautilus is behind us and I'm in the middle of the enemy team. What do I do? So it was very good from TSM. That was a very smart teleport play from Haunter, and possibly the smartest play he's done today. This means TSM, they're going to secure that neutral objective right there, but GAM has the inside track on that tower. So TSM, what they're going to try to do is stop that minion wave from coming. Haunter misses another hook, which he's done way too consistently in this game. So TSM trades Mountain Drake for that mid tower. That's not a terrible trade. It's just more global gold, more global pressure for the ability to take neutral objectives faster, which GAM already had. So Bjergsen gonna get almost picked off right here, but now the entirety of GAM is inside of the base of TSM. Haunter is kind of separated from the rest of the team. Nobody has died, which means Haunter is just going to get bodied right down there. Finally goes down after burning his flash, and when the replay comes back up, we can analyze it more closely. But that was an overcommit from GAM, as well as an overcommit from Haunter, that worked out in GAM's favor, because Haunter was on the wrong side of the wall, and he didn't make an effort to go back over it until it was too late. Now Levi is forced to flash. He was a little greedy right there. He tried to go for Krugs, which for the upcoming 5 minutes it's going to be more difficult to take Dragon. So what happens here is Bjergsen is caught completely by Optimus. Almost completely bursted out. Bjergsen uses a very late cleanse, ults himself, so he does get that sustain, has to flash away. So now Bjergsen, more or less fine. Now Levi and Optimus, Stark are all stuck in the base, but there's no Haunter to kind of follow up on that. Haunter is out here right next to Archie. So what TSM tries to do is secure all the kills they can onto Optimus and Levi, but Archie uses his Mantra Shield onto Optimus to try to save him. Optimus flashes back out of the base. Stark is tanky enough to survive in this base, and Haunter is on the wrong side of the wall because he's going to try to continue to go onto Optimus while the rest of TSM is still in the base trying to kill Levi and Stark. So Haunter should have tried to walk in here, or could have flashed over the wall and then ulted Levi or Stark to get a singular kill. But what he does try to do is he goes in towards Optimus, and then he's going to get shut down by these three players over here. Slay uses his snare onto Sven Skaren, who is going to get stopped trying to chase these guys out of the base. Wild Turtle is too far away to really do anything but auto attack them, and his ultimate is about to run off. Biofrost can't do anything except provide heals and possibly a bubble over the wall. So it's at this point Haunter should be thinking, let me get back into the base where it's safe, because this is now a 3v1 over here, and this is a 4, and that's a 2. These guys are already kind of out of the fight. They're running away. These guys are going to get slowed up and stopped by Slay's ultimate. Bjergsen out of the fight. He can't do anything unless he wants to die. So right now the fight is a 3v1 for Haunter. Wild Turtle still tries to pursue over here because he knows, oh, they're tanking a turret. I am a Twitch. I have damage. I can chase them. Meanwhile, Haunter, what happens is the Gragas barrel explodes over here. Sven Skaren gets slowed up. He can't really do much now, and then he notices, oh no, Haunter is over the wall and he's about to die. Biofrost is currently snared up by the ultimate because it went from Sven to Bio, and now Bio is all locked up. He can't do anything. He can't walk over and provide the heal. So now this 3v1 onto Haunter is going to be Haunter's demise. He gets charmed, he gets ignited, and then the true damage from Ahri finishes him off. So again, mispositioning from Haunter right there. He should not have been 3v1. He should not have tried to ult the Ahri, and overall that was just an incredibly aggressive play from him despite being behind. It was not smart, and that's just more money over towards GAM. Fortunately, a lot of summoners were burned. Levi's flash was burned. Optimus's ignite, I think Archie's ignite as well were burned, so that's a little less damage that's going to be put out. Right now, GAM is doing a classic pretend to be doing Baron. Optimus misses his combo though, so that's just going to be a lot of damage put down onto Stark, and TSM are going to be able to walk away from this fight knowing that Ahri now doesn't have ultimate, now can't assassinate the Twitch or the Lulu, so it's going to be more dangerous for GAM to go for these fights. Does hook Levi, but Haunter can't really follow up on that, so he smartly runs away from the fight. They took the tower. It's at this point that they should back off and clear out all that vision around Baron, which they do. It's the smart move to go for this exact play right now, because now all that vision GAM put down is going to disappear. And now TSM can bait out the Baron, because TSM has the Mountain Drake, and they can say, hey, look, we might be doing Baron right now. GAM, on the other hand, they just want to try to regain that vision control. They just want to, they know they can win fights, but they have to have Optimus's pick potential back up. Which, again, I did mention earlier during picks and bans that it would have been stronger if it wasn't Elise, because they could follow up the charms with the stun. But, the Kazakhs, it's working out for them thus far, because they really needed the more damage to deal with the tankiness that Lulu offers to all of her allies. Lulu's build is also quite strange. She goes for the Lichbane instead of the Death Cap, which would have provided more utility in the fact that it provides more AP. Instead, she goes for more damage on hit with that Lichbane, so it's questionable, because it's at this stage in the game where the Lulu would want to, just buff up Wild Turtle and let him run wild. So more AP would have meant more. It would have meant more move speed. It would have meant more shields. It would have meant more health from her ultimate. Whereas Lichbane, it does provide damage. It does mean you can take objectives slightly faster. It does mean that she is not completely useless in defending herself, but I feel that the most optimal build would have been going for a death cap and then just strictly buffing up your own players, such as Wild Turtle or Sven Skaren. And right now, TSM and GAM are just jockeying for vision control, it seems. So, Dragon is coming up soon. That is going to be a Cloud Drake that is lower on the priority list for, you know, dragons. It just provides move speed, which is largely not very good. It used to be worse. Teleport coming in from GAM. They do have a pretty good flank, but what they don't have is the Wild Turtle damage. He just went invisible. Now Levi and Archie are going to get caught out. But Haunter, again, on the wrong side of the fight completely, has to flash away, tries to hook back in. And that's just another example of Haunter being where he shouldn't be in the fight. Whether or not it was the call from TSM to abandon him, or Haunter thinking, oh, I am a Nautilus, I could get away with whatever I like because I am big and tanky. I mean, whatever it was, Haunter has just not been playing this game very well. He definitely not optimally. He has to burn flash again. He doesn't have his ultimate again. They didn't secure any kills off of his ultimate again. So Haunter on this Nautilus has just simply not been very effective. Cloud Drake is going to go over in favor of the Gigabyte Marines, which will help them should they go for an Elder Dragon later. But currently, like 15 out of combat movement speed, it's not enough to be noticeable, but it's a little bit of something. Right now, TSM, they're going to try to reestablish vision control on this side of the jungle, trying to make sure GAM can't do any sneaky barons. But right now, Optimus looking for a pick maybe onto Sven Skaren. Not going to go for it because Sven, he might have backup. They don't have vision control. A lot of wards being put down and a lot of wards being killed, so it's looking in favor of TSM right now. They have the push despite the 4K gold deficit, and this comes from, I think it's the Gigabyte Marines are playing too scared. They're relying too much on Optimus. They're relying too much on, let's see if he can get a pick, and if he can't, then we'll just make a pick when they finally force a fight on us. Because their comp is good at kiting backwards and, CCing someone to death, but it doesn't really work out when you're not all together. Because Optimus right now is trying to go behind the team, which he does successfully. He does miss the charm, and there's Stark on a very good flank. Nautilus is all the way in top lane again. Haunter with a gigantic misposition. We can watch his replay right now, because despite the fact that Optimus walks over this ward, he recognizes these guys are really separated from the team, and he's going to see Nautilus in the top lane right now. He sees Nautilus up there, so he thinks, alright, let me come around this red buff. They're already pinging to go in. They're already pinging, let's kill Sven Skaren. Let's go in, let's kill them all. Sven Skaren gets jumped on, he gets massively slowed. He's not going to get saved by Biofrost, because that slow is 80% when you're isolated. He tries to ult away, he tries to dash away. He does not have his flash, so he can't flash away. He tries to dodge out the charm by going down towards the rest of the team, but that is only going to kill him faster, because now he finally dashes. Wild Turtle is the one that got charmed, and now Stark came up from the lane. That's just an easy dash in, lay down the barrel, and now it is a 3v5. That was way too aggressive positioning from Sven Skaren and Biofrost in the first place. They should not have been down here without the rest of their team, with Haunter going top lane. It was very stupidly aggressive, and that is what gave up this Baron. Just really bad pathing. So now Gigabyte Marines are going to secure the Baron. And all they really need to do with this is group up, push down the mid lane, and then get another pick. So we can see again, Svenskeren is and Biofrost were way far away from Bjergsen and Wild Turtle. And Nautilus is in the top lane. There's no reason for them to be so aggressively positioned. And then they get punished for it because here comes Optimus off the side. There goes all that damage. Wild Turtle is going to get destroyed. The Wave can't do anything because they're already dead. Just very suboptimal play from TSM. It was good of GAM to recognize Nautilus is top. They're out of position. Let's go kill them right now. And it is like this is something TSM should not be doing as the best team in NA. Excuse me. I have a bit of a stuffy nose. So right now, GAM is just preparing to push in all 3 lanes at the same time. They have Baron buff, so they can basically do whatever they want with it. Ocean Drake is going to be the next one to spawn, not Elder Drake, so that means they're going to have to wait a little while before Elder Drake does finally spawn at around the 40-minute mark. And right now, again, all Gigabyte Marines need to do is land their skill shots, which they already missed one, and just win the game, walk into the base. Levi is pressuring mid, they have Stark pressuring bot, and all 3 lanes being pushed in against a team that cannot handle super minions because, you know, Twitch not the best at wave clear. Graves can clear the back line of super minions, but that front line is going to take a little while. Try to go for something cheesy with Wild Turtle. Flashes forward onto that bot lane. Archie is going to be the one to die here because TSM are trying to focus Archie, trying to go and kill him, but they're losing the rest of their base. They lost the middle inhibitor turret. They're going to lose the bottom inhibitor turret now that Archie is back over there and alive. Stark uses his barrel to disengage, which is very smart, but Slay does go down to the Haunter hook. Stark is in there all alone now. That was just a simple overcommit from the Gigabyte Marines right there. They got hit with all the skill shots that needed to get hit, and Haunter actually hitting a hook wins them a little bit more time. But their base is practically in shambles. There is almost nothing to defend aside from open inhibitors, so it's going to be a really tough defense. So Archie and Slay right there are both going to get... Oh, nope, they don't both get knocked up by the Nautilus ultimate. Slay ults, flashes away. So this is where TSM decide, let's go towards this Archie over here. But on the backside of the fight, Biofrost nearly gets one shot. So they have to waste the Lulu ultimate on Biofrost just to keep him alive. In the meantime, Optimus and Levi are taking this mid turret, and Stark is taking that bottom turret. So GAM successfully pulling TSM around the entirety of their own base. Very smart. Haunter, though, sees Slay over here and thinks, let's go for the hook from inside the base. He nails it, and then Slay gets CC'd to death and dies. Wild Turtle is aggressive positionally, and Stark thinks he sees an opportunity, but he doesn't have the manpower to go in for this right now. Archie is there to help him, but Levi is all the way down here, and Ari is in base. So Stark really went in for no reason. He almost got the kill onto Svenskeren, but that was way too aggressive for Stark to go in onto. And he could have stayed alive, which means that Archie could have stayed alive. It was a very silly play from Stark, very solo queue-esque. Something that shouldn't have happened. Now Svenskeren and Wild Turtle going in for this fight. Stupidly aggressive. Alright, we'll just watch the replay and see how this breaks down. Because this is a very bad fight from both sides. This is just stupidly sloppy. Alright, so we'll catch this replay. Show us the replay, please. Alright, so I'll just make my own replay. What happens here is, if I can get to the beginning of this fight, Svenskeren sees an opportunity onto Archie. He gets spotted out, but Archie is already too close for comfort to Svenskeren. They know where Levi is. He's coming up from the bot lane. Svenskeren gets all of his damage down. And now Svenskeren is kind of alone over here, but he does have the cavalry coming in. Stark is on this backside, but what Wild Turtle is going to do is flash forward onto these two squishies, ignoring Stark, staying away from Stark, and this is where Svenskeren and Svenskeren and Wild Turtle are just going to put down a massive amount of damage. Alongside the Nami ultimate, which is going to come through, delay Stark, almost kill Archie, and then help kill Slay, Wild Turtle is able to stay alive. He gets knocked back towards Archie, unfortunately, and now Stark is alone 3v5. This was a very smart, aggressive play from TSM, and knowing that Ari and Levi were out of position, they knew that they could go for this. Because now they can turn it back onto Stark and the rest of the team, but it's at this point they're like, oh no, Optimus is here. Let's scatter. Biofrost is the tasty fish at the end of the hook, so Optimus is going to go straight after that. Where this gives the opportunity for Nautilus to finally make his way into this fight, making it a 3v4 again. Wild Turtle kites back successfully. Haunter misses the hook because Levi dies way too quickly. Knocks up on Optimus. Bjergsen does get the cleanse off, and now Stark is just going to go down from auto attacks and Twitch Poison. So successfully peeled by Haunter, successfully fought by the rest of the team. They did lose Biofrost, but overall it was a very good trade for TSM because they're able to get this Ocean Drake, which will help them sustain in the upcoming fights. Now they think, we have the advantage, let's push bot lane, which is the smart decision to make. Despite the fact that they have open inhibitors, they know Ahri is in top lane, they know the bot lane is dead and just coming back up now. They don't know where Levi is, but at this point they are 3v4, they can take that tower, and then it's very smart of them right now to run away. Because they know they don't have their full team. They know all of their cooldowns were just spent in that last fight. They don't have flashes, they don't have heals, and they're just going to want to keep running away from this. It looks like they want to cheese and turn it around, but Stark is going for a very deep teleport. TSM is able to actually get their bush cheese, but it was way too aggressive because now Optimus is going to one-shot Wild Turtle. Optimus is going to go in and kill Svenskeren. Nautilus is still alive, however. Bjergsen, the unfortunate victim of circumstance. That was a very smart play by TSM up until they wanted to turn it back around. And then that's when it became disaster again for TSM. This is where they lose their base. This is where they're going to lose the game. And what was a good play for TSM, they got way too greedy. And they lose the game for it. It was a very stupidly aggressive call that should never have been tried. So, in conclusion, TSM versus Gigabyte Marines, they had two very decent comps. They did not have optimal comps for what they wanted to do. Like I said, Gigabyte Marines could have had Elise instead to, enhance their picking power. The TSM, they could have done something like Orianna mid and had a little bit more consistent damage, as well as having the utility they needed simply from the Lulu alone. And then throughout the entirety of the game, Gigabyte Marines kind of played reactively to all of Haunter's and Svenskeren's stupid plays. And by that I mean, we saw in the top lane there were several ganks that failed, and TSM, they just didn't do it right. And then off of that, Gigabyte Marines were able to build a lead, and from there, Gigabyte Marines snowballed it, and from there, TSM just consistently played stupidly aggressive. They made very bad calls. They just played stupidly, for lack of a better phrase. They were just way too aggressive when they didn't need to be. You saw that Bush strat at the end of the game where they all lost. They tried to turn it back around. They missed all their skill shots. They all lost. So
that was just very, very poor play. That was more poor play from TSM than it was good play from Gigabyte Marines, because we have seen the highs and the lows of Gigabyte Marines, and this was one of their highs. And if their high is simply, the other team played like idiots, then it is truly a sad loss for TSM in this game. That was a must-win game as well, despite the fact that it is day one. That was a team that, they only beat 3-2 in to get into this stage of the tournament. So we could already tell TSM, they were struggling. They continued to struggle, and then they struggled into this game and lost it. So overall, very bad game from TSM. A painfully average game from Gigabyte Marines, who all they needed to do was not play stupid, and they won. And that's what happened. So if I were to say anything about this game, I would give TSM an F. They did not prioritize objectives correctly in the early game. They did not fight the right fights correctly. They did not even tank tower correctly. They just did everything wrong early game, and then they tried to make up for it late game by continuing to make bad plays. And that is not something that will make them a world championship team. Thank you very much for watching, Yamato Cannon. I know this was an hour long, and I'm sorry if I wasted an hour of your life, but I hope you find that my review of this game was intriguing. I hope you enjoyed my VOD review of this game. I chose this game specifically because I knew that, this was a big upset, and I wanted to analyze how poorly TSM did, because I only watched it live as a spectator. I wasn't really thinking too deeply about it, but now that I did have a chance to think deeply into it, I could truly see that TSM just simply was the worst team. They were not good at all. They played stupidly, and this definitely helps understand the context of the rest of the tournament and how they played. Thank you again for watching, Yamato Cannon, and whoever else on Vitality is watching alongside of you. I look forward to working with you in the future. I hope you read through my cover letter and found my resume extremely impressive, and I very much look forward to hearing back from you as soon as possible. Thank you very much, and have a good day.